Commander Hale sat alone in his quarters, the hum of the outpost's life support systems filling the silence. The station was old, built during the early days of humanity's expansion into the Perseus Arm. Its walls carried scars from past battles, and its corridors smelled faintly of recycled air. Hale liked it this way. It reminded him of how far humanity had come, and how far it still had to go. His table was cluttered with data pads and holodisplays, glowing with reports and sensor logs. Patrol ships had picked up strange energy signatures on the edge of human-controlled space. Alien movements, fleets shifting positions like predators circling prey. Hale knew it meant trouble. He rubbed his tired eyes. Another long night, he muttered. Then, 3 sharp knocks. It was strange. No one knocked on his door. Officers usually used the intercom, or requested entry through the station system. For someone to knock, it meant either formality was being ignored or someone wanted to send a message. Hale rose slowly, instinct on edge. His hand brushed the pistol on his desk before he moved toward the door. He pressed the control panel. The door slid open, and there she was, Lyra. She leaned against the doorway with casual grace, her arms folded, her eyes glowing faintly like molten silver. Her long dark hair framed her sharp features, and her lips curled into a mischievous grin. There was no sign of fear, no sign of respect, only confidence. Well, she said boldly, her voice smooth but daring. Say something. Hale froze for a second. Of all the people he expected tonight, Lyra was the last. She was not supposed to be here. Not on a human outpost. Not alone. Her people, the Vailari, were known for secrecy, manipulation, and playing every side in a conflict. Hale had dealt with her before, briefly years ago during uneasy negotiations. He remembered her as clever, dangerous, and impossible to trust. His hand twitched slightly toward his weapon, but he stopped himself. Instead, he narrowed his eyes. You shouldn't be here. Lyra tilted her head, amused. And yet here I am. The station's corridor behind her was empty. No guards, no escorts, no alarms. That fact unsettled Hale more than her smirk. How had she even boarded the station without tripping a single system? Either she was very skilled or someone had helped her. Explain, Hale demanded, his tone cold. Lyra stepped inside as if she owned the room. The door closed behind her with a hiss. She didn't wait for permission. She moved to his table, glancing at the glowing holo reports, then looked back at him with that same bold grin. You already know why I'm here, she said. Hale folded his arms. Try me. Lyra leaned closer to the table, her silver eyes reflecting the holographic stars. Because your enemies are moving. Because fleets gather in the dark. And because humanity, bold as it is, still doesn't see the full picture. Her words sent a chill down Hale's spine. She was confirming what the sensor log suggested. Something larger was unfolding beyond the human frontier. Why tell me? He asked suspiciously. What's in it for you? Lyra smiled wider. Oh, Commander. Must there always be a reason? There always is, Hale said firmly. For a moment, silence filled the room. Hale studied her carefully. Her body language was relaxed. Too relaxed for someone surrounded by potential enemies. She wasn't bluffing. She had come here willingly, knowing the risk. Finally, she spoke again, her voice lower, more serious. I've left the Vailari, Hale blinked. That was impossible. The Vailari never left their people. Their loyalty was iron-bound. Their society built on oaths and secrecy. Defection was unheard of. You expect me to believe that? He asked. You'll believe it soon enough, Lyra replied calmly. I've brought something with me. Knowledge, secrets. Enough to shift the balance of this entire war before it even begins. Her words hit like a shockwave. Hale stiffened. What kind of secrets? Lyra's grin returned, sharp and dangerous. The kind that will keep your people alive. The tension in the room thickened. Hale didn't trust her. He never had, but he couldn't ignore her either. If what she said was true, then humanity was on the edge of something catastrophic. He stepped closer, his voice stern. If you have information, you'll hand it over to the council. Not me, not here. You'll follow protocol. Lyra chuckled softly, shaking her head. Protocol won't save you, Commander. Protocol will bury you in red tape while your enemies sharpen their blades. I came to you because you don't hide behind protocol. Hale's jaw tightened. She knew how to push him, how to prod at the truths he didn't want to admit. The council was slow, cautious and often blind to danger until it was too late. He, on the other hand, acted. That was why she chose him, but trusting her meant opening the door to disaster. "You're asking me to gamble with the lives of millions," Hale said. "No," Lyra corrected softly, her eyes locking with his. "I'm asking you to gamble with mine." For a long moment, neither of them moved. The room felt smaller, as if the walls themselves were listening. Finally, Hale turned away, pacing toward the window that overlooked the stars. He stared out into the black where alien fleets gathered unseen. "What do you want in return?" he asked at last. Lyra's grin softened, but her eyes never lost their sharpness. "Protection. Safe passage. A place at your table when decisions are made." Hale exhaled slowly. Exactly as he expected. She wanted influence, power, a seat among humans. "That's a high price," he muttered. "It's a fair one," Lyra replied. "Because without me you won't survive what's coming." The silence stretched again, broken only by the hum of the station. Hale could feel the weight of the choice pressing down on him. Trusting her could save humanity, or doom it. He turned back to face her, his expression hard. "If you're lying," Lyra interrupted smoothly, her grin returning full force, "then you'll have the pleasure of saying I told you so when you put me in a cell." Her boldness made his blood boil, but also forced a reluctant respect. Few aliens dared to walk into a human station unarmed, unguarded, and taunt a commander to his face. She wasn't afraid, and fearlessness, real or faked, was dangerous. Hale finally gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Sit, talk. But understand this, Lyra. If you betray us, I'll be the one to end it." Lyra sat gracefully, her grin never fading. "Fair enough, Commander. Now, let's discuss the end of the galaxy as you know it." The hum of the station continued, unaware that history had just shifted inside a small, dimly lit room. Humanity's fate had tilted, all because an alien leaned on a doorway, grinned boldly, and dared a human to say something. And Hale had answered. Commander Hale sat across from Lyra, his jaw tight, his mind moving faster than the blinking lights on the holoscreens scattered around his table. The alien woman sat comfortably in the chair opposite him, her silver eyes studying him as if she could read every unspoken thought. The station was quiet at this late hour. Most of the crew were either on night shifts or asleep in their quarters. That gave Hale little time. He needed to decide what to do with Lyra before anyone discovered she was here. She broke the silence first. "You are wondering why I chose you," she said calmly. "I already know," Hale replied without hesitation. "Because you think I'll act faster than the Council. Because you know I don't like waiting," Lyra smirked, tilting her head, "and because you are clever enough to see opportunity when it stands in your doorway." Hale leaned back, crossing his arms. "You claim you've defected, that you have secrets that could save humanity. Prove it." Lyra tapped her fingers lightly on the table as though playing an invisible instrument. Then she leaned forward, her voice dropping lower. "The great powers of this arm, the Villari, the Kreth, the Andros Coalition, they have all agreed on one thing. Humanity has grown too quickly, too far, too bold. They will not allow you to control the stargates." Hale frowned. The gates, massive ancient structures that allowed instant travel across impossible distances, were rare and precious. Humanity had only discovered a few, but already engineers had begun to understand their workings. If humans gained mastery over them, they would no longer be limited by the slow crawl of warp drives. They would stand equal to the older species. "You're saying they've formed an alliance against us?" Hale asked. Lyra shook her head. "Not an alliance. A silent agreement. Each for their own reasons, each with their own plans. But all with the same goal: delay your rise until you collapse on your own." Her words carried weight. Hale had suspected for months that alien fleets were moving strangely, patrols disappearing, supply routes blocked by accidents. He had guessed it was pressure but not a united front. If Lyra was right, then humanity was in greater danger than he had realized. He studied her carefully. "Why tell us this? Why betray your people?" For the first time, Lyra's grin faded. Her silver eyes flickered with something darker, regret perhaps, or anger. "Because my people would rather play games than face reality. They whisper, they deceive, they manipulate, but they never act with courage. I am tired of it. Humanity has flaws, yes, but you act, you build, you fight. You remind me of what my people once were, before they became cowards." Hale didn't trust her, but he couldn't ignore the fire in her voice. It was real, at least part of it. You want protection, Hale said slowly, and a seat at our table, why? Lyra leaned back again, her grin returning but softer this time. Because I cannot go back. I am already hunted, and because I want to shape what comes next. If humanity is to rise, I want to be there when it happens. Hale narrowed his eyes. You want influence? Of course, Lyra replied unashamed. Everyone wants influence. I simply admit it. The door chimed suddenly. Hale stiffened. He motioned for silence. Lyra tilted her head, amused, but said nothing. Hale crossed the room and pressed the control panel. Lieutenant Marcus stood outside holding a datapad. Commander, He stopped, eyes widening when he saw Lyra sitting inside the quarters. Sir, what is that? Hale stepped outside quickly, forcing the door to close behind him. Keep your voice down. Sir, that's a Vylari. Marcus whispered harshly. How did she? I'll explain later, Hale cut in. His tone left no room for argument. For now, you didn't see her. Understood? Marcus hesitated, eyes darting toward the door. Sir, with respect, the council should be informed immediately. Hale leaned closer, lowering his voice. If the council hears about her before I know what she wants, they'll lock her away, and we'll lose whatever advantage she might bring. Do you want to risk that? Marcus swallowed hard, then nodded reluctantly. Yes, sir, I'll keep quiet. Good, dismissed. The lieutenant left, though worry was plain on his face. Hale waited until the corridor was empty, then returned inside. Lyra was smiling knowingly. Your people are loyal, she said. But they question. That is good. Save the compliments, Hale replied sharply. You've put me in a dangerous position already. Lyra shrugged gracefully. Dangerous positions are where history is made. Hale sat again, rubbing his forehead. Let's say I believe you. What exactly are you offering? Lyra's eyes gleamed. She touched the bracelet on her wrist, and a small holographic projection shimmered above the table. Lines of code, star maps, and fleet positions appeared in glowing light. This, she said, the movements of every major fleet in this sector, the locations of hidden supply caches, the secret routes through dark space that your patrols never discovered, and most importantly, knowledge of the gates. Hale leaned forward, eyes fixed on the maps. If what she showed was real, it was priceless. It could change everything. You stole this from the Vylari? He asked. Lyra's grin turned sly. Stole? No, I borrowed it permanently. Hale scowled. If they know you took this, they'll send assassins. They already have, Lyra said softly. That's why I came here. For the first time, Hale noticed the faint burn mark on her shoulder, half hidden by her cloak. A scar from a plasma weapon. She had indeed been hunted. Hours passed as Lyra explained piece by piece what she had brought. Hale asked sharp questions, testing her knowledge, looking for lies. But every answer fit too well with what he already suspected. By the end, his chest felt heavy. Humanity was in far more danger than the Council understood. If the alien factions moved together, even unofficially, Earth and its colonies could be cut off, surrounded, starved into submission. You see now why you cannot waste time with council debates, Lyra said quietly. You need to act, prepare, strike before the noose tightens. Hale stood, pacing the room. He hated to admit it, but she was right. Still, he couldn't give her what she wanted so easily. If I let you into our council chambers, they will never trust you. They'll call you a spy, a manipulator. They may even call me a traitor for protecting you. Lyra rose to her feet as well. She stood close, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Then prove them wrong. Show them that humans are not so afraid of shadows that they reject truth when it stands before them. Show them you are bold. Her words struck him harder than he wanted. Bold. That was what humanity had always been. Bold enough to leave Earth. Bold enough to settle worlds that others said were unlivable. Bold enough to challenge empires older than human history itself. He clenched his fists. He knew what he had to do. Suddenly, alarms blared across the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors outside. Hale tapped his communicator instantly. Report, a frantic voice answered. Commander, we've got unidentified intruders on Deck 9 armed. They're heading toward your sector. Hale's blood ran cold. Seal bulkheads. Deploy security teams? Keep them contained. Yes, sir. He turned to Lyra. She was calm, almost too calm. Assassins, she said simply. I told you they would come. Hale grabbed his pistol from the desk and checked the charge. Stay behind me. Lyra raised an eyebrow. I can fight. I didn't ask if you could, Hale snapped. Stay behind me. For the first time, her grin faded into something softer. Perhaps respect. They moved quickly through the dim corridors, red emergency lights painting the metal walls with a harsh glow. The sounds of gunfire echoed from somewhere below. The intruders were getting closer. Hale led Lyra through a maintenance passage, avoiding the main halls. His mind raced. If assassins were already inside, then the Vailari or their allies must have planned this for days. Someone had smuggled them aboard, he cursed under his breath. Humanity's enemies were already testing their defenses. Lyra followed silently, her eyes scanning every shadow. At last they reached the command deck, where armed human soldiers were already taking defensive positions. Marcus was there, rifle in hand, sweat on his brow. His eyes widened when he saw Lyra with Hale. Commander, she's with you? She's under my protection, Hale barked. No one touches her. Marcus hesitated but obeyed. He turned back toward the sealed bulkhead. From the other side came the sound of pounding metal, then silence. The soldiers waited, breathless. Hale stood ready, pistol aimed. Lyra stood just behind him, her expression unreadable. The battle for humanity's future had already begun, and it had started with a knock at his door. The alarms continued to echo through the station. Red emergency lights pulsed across the corridors like a heartbeat, each flash reminding everyone that danger was close. Commander Hale stood in the command deck, pistol steady in his hands. His soldiers formed a defensive line, weapons aimed at the sealed bulkhead that separated them from the intruders. The pounding stopped. For a long moment there was only silence. The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances, their breaths heavy, their fingers tense on their triggers. Then a muffled explosion shook the deck. The bulkhead buckled inward, smoke spilling through cracks in the metal. "Hold your fire," Hale barked. The bulkhead bent again, then ripped open with a deafening screech. 3 figures in black armor stormed through the gap, weapons raised. Their helmets were sleek, alien-made, with glowing red visors. The assassins. "Fire," Hale commanded. The deck erupted in blinding flashes as human rifles discharged. Bolts of plasma lit up the corridor, slamming into the armored intruders. One assassin fell instantly, armor sizzling from the blast. The other 2 moved with unnatural speed, returning fire. Sparks sprayed as energy bolts tore into the walls and consoles. "Cover the flanks," Marcus shouted, firing controlled bursts at the nearest assassin. The intruder dodged with inhuman reflexes, but Hale aimed carefully, waiting for the split second when the assassin leaned from cover. His pistol roared, striking the target in the chest. The assassin stumbled, then collapsed. Only one remained. This one advanced fearlessly, weapon spitting fire. A soldier screamed as a bolt clipped his arm, throwing him back. Hale moved forward, firing again and again, but the intruder's armor absorbed most of the shots. Then from behind him, Lyra stepped forward. She raised her hand and a sudden pulse of light surged from a small device hidden in her wristband. The assassin froze mid-step, his suit sparking violently. "Now!" Lyra shouted. Hale fired once more and the final assassin dropped, armor smoking. The deck fell silent again, save for the harsh breathing of the soldiers. The smell of burnt metal and ozone filled the air. "Status," Hale called. 2 injured, 1 critical, sir, Marcus reported, kneeling by the wounded. "But we held them." Hale lowered his pistol slowly. His eyes moved to the fallen assassins. Their armor was Vailari made, no question. Lyra's warning had been true. He turned to her, his jaw tight. "They came for you." Lyra met his gaze without flinching. "I told you they would." Later, the wounded were taken to the med bay and the dead assassins were secured for study. Hale sat in the council chamber of the station, though only a few trusted officers were present. Lyra sat at the far end of the table, calm as ever, though her presence made everyone else uneasy. Marcus leaned close to Hale and whispered, "Sir, the crew is restless. Word is spreading fast. Some say you're protecting a spy." Hale didn't answer right away. He knew Marcus was right. The soldiers had seen Lyra fight alongside them, but they also saw her as the reason assassins boarded the station. Fear and suspicion would spread like fire if not controlled. Finally, Hale spoke. "Lyra, the assassins confirm your story, but the council won't care. They'll say you led them here, that you're a trap." Lyra smirked faintly. "They will say what they always say. They will argue, delay, doubt. Meanwhile, your enemies close their grip, Maybe, Hale said. But I still have to keep this station together. High people need to trust me, and right now they don't. Lyra's expression softened slightly. Then show them something they cannot deny. The next day, Hale ordered a private briefing with his senior staff. Holograms of star maps floated above the table. Lyra stood beside him, uninvited but unwilling to leave. This, Hale said, pointing to the glowing dots of alien fleet positions, is what she brought us. These are not guesses. They're real deployments. The officers leaned in, studying the patterns. What they saw made their faces pale. Alien fleets were moving closer on 3 sides of human space. Supply lines were targeted, colonies isolated. It was a slow strangulation. If this continues, Hale continued, Earth will be cut off in less than 2 years. Our colonies will starve, our fleets will be trapped, and humanity will collapse. A silence fell. The truth was heavy in the room. Marcus broke it first. Sir, with respect, this all comes from her. How do we know it isn't a trick? Lyra stepped forward before Hale could reply. Because your patrol reports match my data. Because your missing ships died in these ambushes. Because your instincts already told you something was wrong. I only gave you the full picture. The officers exchanged uncertain looks. They couldn't deny her logic. Hale saw the hesitation and pressed on. We can't wait for the council to make a decision. If we do, it'll be too late. We need to prepare defenses now. Reroute supplies. Strengthen colonies. And when the time comes, strike first. The room went quiet again. The officers were not used to such bold words. Humanity had always been on the defensive. Hale was suggesting the opposite. Lyra smiled faintly. See, this is why I chose you. You are bold. But not everyone agreed. As the briefing ended, Marcus pulled Hale aside. His face was tight with worry. Sir, you're taking a huge risk. The council will call this treason. They'll say you're making decisions without authority, and with her by your side. He glanced at Lyra with open distrust. They'll say you've been compromised. Hale met his lieutenant's eyes. Maybe, but doing nothing will kill us faster. If the council won't act, then I will. Marcus hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. I'll stand by you, sir. But the crew? They're divided. I'll handle the crew, Hale said firmly. That night, as Hale returned to his quarters, he found Lyra waiting again, leaning casually against the doorway as before. You enjoy doing that, don't you? Hale muttered. She grinned boldly. It unsettles you. And I like seeing you unsettled. Hale shook his head, stepping past her into the room. You're trouble. And yet, she said, following him inside, you keep me here. He sat heavily at his desk. Because you might be the only thing standing between humanity and extinction. Lyra studied him quietly for a moment. You don't trust me, and you shouldn't, but you will see that I am right. The others, your council, your officers, they fear what is coming. Fear makes them hesitate. But you act. That is why humanity has a chance. Her words struck something deep inside him. He didn't like admitting it, but she was right. Humanity's strength had always been its will to act when others hesitated. Still, he couldn't let her control the conversation. If I let you stand before the council, they'll tear you apart. They'll call you a liar, a manipulator, maybe even an assassin yourself. Lyra leaned closer, her grin fading into something serious. Then let them. Because every insult they throw at me will distract them from seeing the one truth they fear most, that humanity is no longer weak. That you are no longer children playing with fire. That you are ready to fight. Hale's eyes narrowed. And you? What do you gain if we win? Lyra's expression hardened. A chance to shape the future. A chance to matter again. For the first time, Hale thought he saw a glimpse of honesty behind her mask. The next day, the station was restless. Rumors spread quickly about the assassins, about Lyra, about secret alien plots. Some crew members supported Hale, believing him bold enough to protect them. Others whispered that he had been fooled by a clever alien. Hale walked the corridors, feeling the tension in every glance. Humanity itself was divided right here on his station. And yet, as he looked at his soldiers standing guard, at the engineers working tirelessly, he knew one thing. Humans didn't give up. Even against impossible odds, they fought. That was what made them different. That was what made them dangerous. Lyra was right about one thing. Fear made others hesitate. But humanity's greatest strength was that it moved forward anyway, and Hale intended to prove it. The council chamber aboard the station was larger than most rooms. its circular walls lined with banners of Earth and the outer colonies. A long table sat in the center, and around it stood the senior officers and representatives sent from nearby colonies. They had gathered in haste after hearing the news: assassins, alien fleets, and the mysterious Velari defector. Commander Hale stood at the head of the table. His uniform was crisp, but his eyes were heavy from sleepless nights. He had prepared for this moment. Whether the council agreed or not, humanity's course would change today. Lyra entered behind him. The room grew tense instantly. Officers whispered, some glaring openly. A few reached for sidearms before stopping themselves. She walked with her usual calm confidence, her silver eyes scanning the humans as if judging their worth. One counselor, an older man named Senator Griggs, slammed his hand on the table. "This is unacceptable. A Velari spy in our council chamber? Commander Hale, have you lost your mind?" "She's the reason we're alive right now," Hale replied firmly. Griggs sneered. "Or she's the reason assassins breached your station in the first place." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some nodded in agreement, others frowned. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Lyra only smiled faintly. "You may believe what you like, Senator, but your enemies believe I am dangerous enough to kill. That alone should tell you I am no friend to them." The council erupted in arguments. Some shouted for her removal, others demanded to hear her out. Hale slammed his hand on the table, his voice cutting through the noise. "Enough." The chamber fell silent. Hale's voice was calm but sharp as steel. "You wanted answers? You'll have them." "Lyra, show them." She raised her bracelet. Holograms bloomed in the air above the table. Maps of the sector, fleet movements, intercepted transmissions. The counselors leaned in, their arguments dying as the scale of the threat revealed itself. Griggs's face paled as he studied the patterns. This can't be real." "It is real," Hale said coldly. "And it means humanity doesn't have years to prepare. We have months, maybe less." Another counselor, a woman from the Mars colonies, whispered, "They mean to surround us." Lyra nodded. "Yes, slowly, carefully. They will not attack openly. They will cut your trade, starve your colonies, sabotage your fleets. When you are weak, they will strike. And no one will come to your aid." The chamber filled with uneasy silence. Hale looked around the table, his voice steady. "We can't wait for them to decide our fate. We have to act first." Griggs stood, pointing a finger at him. "Act? You mean war? Humanity is not ready for war with empires older than our civilization itself." Hale met his gaze without flinching. "If we wait, there won't be a war. There will be a surrender, and humanity does not surrender." The chamber erupted again. Some counselors shouted in agreement, others in fear. Hale let them argue for a moment before raising his hand once more. "You've all seen the truth. The fleets are moving. The noose is tightening. You can argue, doubt, and waste time, or you can fight. Those are the only choices." Lyra stepped forward, her voice sharp. "I was Velari. I know how they think. They underestimate you. They believe humans will break under pressure as others have. Prove them wrong." Her words struck like a spark in dry wood. The counselors fell into uneasy silence, each wrestling with fear and pride. Finally, the woman from Mars spoke. "What do you propose, Commander?" Hale straightened, his voice clear. "We strengthen our colonies, fortify the gates, strike enemy supply lines before they tighten the net. And most of all, we show them that humanity will not be strangled into submission. We fight on our terms." Griggs slammed the table again. "Reckless. You'll drag us into a war we cannot win." "No," Hale replied. "War is already coming. The only choice is whether we fight standing or kneel waiting for the blade." The debate raged for hours. The council split down the middle. Some argued for caution, others for boldness. Hale stood through it all, never wavering. Lyra spoke rarely, but when she did, her words cut through fear like a blade. At last, the votes were tallied. By the slimmest margin, the council agreed to prepare for war. Not openly, not officially, but quietly. Moving supplies, reinforcing fleets, building weapons. Humanity's first steps into open defiance. As the council dismissed, Hale stood alone for a moment in the chamber. He stared at the glowing hologram of the stars, feeling the weight of history pressing on his shoulders. Lyra approached quietly. "You did it." "No," Hale said softly. "We did it. Humanity did it," Lyra tilted her head. "And yet, without you, they would have hesitated until it was too late." Hale turned to her, his expression hard. "Don't mistake me for a savior. I'm just a soldier doing what has to be done. Lyra's grin returned. And that, Commander, is why humanity will rise. Days turned into weeks. The station became a hive of activity. Supply convoys moved under heavy escort. Colonies reported new defense systems being installed. Training drills doubled in frequency. The once quiet frontier now buzzed with the sound of preparation. But the threats grew as well. More reports of missing patrols, strange energy signatures near colonies, rumors of spies. The web of secrets tightened and humanity stood at its center. Through it all, Hale worked without rest. He coordinated fleets, inspected defenses, and spoke directly to colony leaders. His voice carried across the stars, a voice of resolve in a galaxy of fear. And Lyra was always there, at his side, advising, warning, and pushing him to be bolder. Many still distrusted her, but her knowledge proved invaluable. Slowly, grudgingly, the humans began to see her as more than a spy. The turning point came when a hidden alien fleet attempted to ambush a supply convoy near the Vega Gate. Thanks to Lyra's intelligence, Hale positioned his ships in advance. When the enemy arrived, expecting an easy kill, they found a wall of human warships waiting. The battle was fierce, the first true clash between humanity and the alien powers. Human ships burned. Lives were lost. But when the smoke cleared, the enemy had retreated, shocked and bloodied. For the first time, humanity had struck back. The news spread across the colonies like wildfire. People cheered in the streets. Soldiers stood taller. Humanity, once dismissed as weak and fragile, had faced an ancient empire in open battle and survived. Hope was alive. That night, Hale stood in his quarters, staring out at the stars. His body was exhausted, but his spirit burned. The path ahead was dangerous, perhaps impossible. But he no longer doubted. Lyra entered quietly, as she always did. She leaned against the doorway, her arms folded, her grin bold. "Well?" she said, her voice carrying that same challenge she had given the first night. "Say something." Hale turned to her, his eyes steady. He thought of the assassins, the council, the fleets gathering in the dark. He thought of humanity, bold, stubborn, unyielding. Finally, he spoke. "You wanted me to say something. Here it is. Welcome to humanity's war." Lyra's grin widened, and for the first time there was something like pride in her eyes. And so it began. Humanity stood at the edge of the galaxy, surrounded by enemies, burdened by doubt, yet unbroken. Where others hesitated, humans acted. Where others surrendered, humans fought. The galaxy had underestimated them for too long. Now they would learn. Now they would see. Now it was humans first.